The Third Testament, Chapter 11, Part 4. The Doctrine of Jesus. Jesus showed you charity, meekness, and love. He came to teach you to pardon your enemies from the heart, to say to you that you must flee from lies and love truth. He made manifest to you that for the evil as well as the good done to you, you must return always good. He taught you to respect each one of your fellows, and showed you how to find the health of body and spirit, and to honor with your life the names of your parents, so that you in your turn may be honored by your children. Here are some of the mandates that must be followed by all who truly wish to be Christians. When the scribes and Pharisees observed the acts of Jesus and found that they differed from their own, they said that the doctrine that he preached went against the law of Moses. They were confusing the law with the traditions. But I, which is Christ, proved that I had not come to transgress the law that the father Shiloh had revealed to Moses, but to fulfill it in word and deed. Truly, I did set aside many of the traditions of that people, for the time had come for them to disappear in order to give birth to a new era of more elevated teachings. Remember that in the first precept of the law that Moses gave to humanity it said, "You shall not make any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven to bow down to and adore." From that day, the road was clearly traced for humanity and for the Spirit. Moses did not limit himself to transmitting the 10 Commandments to men. He also instituted secondary laws for human life, rites and symbols within the spiritual worship, all according to the steps that the human spirit was then taking. But the promised Messiah came and erased traditions, rites, symbols, and sacrifices, leaving intact only the law. And it was for this reason that when the Pharisees said to the people that Jesus went against the laws of Moses, I, which is Christ, that responded that I did not go against the law, but rather in fulfillment of it. If I came erasing traditions, it was because in following them the people had forgotten to observe the law. The divine yearning of Jesus was for his disciples to become the sowers of his redeeming doctrine. And so it was that in the supreme moment of his last lecture to his disciples, which was also the last conversation between the father Shiloh and his children, he said in a sweet voice, "A new commandment I give unto you, that they love one another," kindling from the light of that maxim, humanity's greatest hope. My word in this era shall not erase those I said to you in the second. Times, centuries, and eras will fade, but the words of Jesus shall not. Today I, which is Christ, come to explain and reveal the content of that which I told you then, and which you did not understand, the miracles of Jesus, so that this teaching would kindle faith in the hearts of men. I, which is Christ, accompanied it with miracles, so that the teaching would be loved by them. And so that those miracles would be more tangible, I performed them in the bodies of the sick. I healed the blind, the deaf, the mute, the paralyzed, the possessed, and lepers. I even raised the dead. How many miracles of love Christ performed among men! Their names were gathered by history as an example to future generations. Beings of light in the service of the divine work, and others rebellious and ignorant, came from everywhere. And there appeared among that humanity possessed persons, whose science did not know how to liberate, and who were repudiated by the people. Neither the doctors of the law, nor the physicians, were able to restore those sick to health. But I, which is Christ, was disposed to all to teach and give proof of love. And one granted through Jesus the healing of these creatures, to the astonishment of many. The skeptical, those who had heard talk of the power of Jesus and knew of his miracles, sought the most difficult tests to make him vacillate an instant and demonstrate that he was not infallible. And the freeing of the possessed, returning them to the state of normal beings with only a touch or a look, or by directing an order to them, so that those spiritual beings abandoned their minds, and one and all were freed from their heavy burden, confused them. Before this power, the Pharisees, the scientists, the scribes, and publicans had different reactions. Some recognized the authority of Jesus. Others attributed his power to strange influences. Others could find nothing to say. But the sick who had been healed blessed his name. Some had been possessed by only a single spirit, others by 7, as was Mary Magdalene, and others by numbers so large that they themselves said they were legion. Throughout the life of the Master, spiritual manifestations occurred. Some were seen by the 12 disciples, others by the people on the roads or in their homes. It was a time of prodigies, of marvels. The miracle, according to the way you understand it, does not exist. There is nothing contradictory between the divine and the material. You attribute many miracles to Jesus, and truly I say to you that his deeds were the natural effect of love, of that divine force which, although present within each spirit, you still do not know how to use it, because you do not want to know the virtue of love. What existed in all the miracles which Jesus performed, if it was not love? Listen, O disciples. In order for the love of God to manifest itself to mankind, the humility of the instrument was necessary, and Jesus was always humble. And as he came to give an example to men, he said to you on a certain occasion that without the will of his heavenly Father Shiloh, he could do nothing. He who does not penetrate in the humility of those words will believe that Jesus was an ordinary man. But the truth is that he wanted to give you a lesson of humility. He knew that humility, that unity with the Father Shiloh, made him almighty before mankind. Oh, immense and beautiful transfiguration that love, humility, and wisdom gives. Now you realize why Jesus, although saying that he could accomplish nothing without the will of his Father Shiloh, in reality could master it all, because he was obedient, because he was humble, because he became the servant of the law and of men, and because he knew how to love. Recognize then that you yourselves, knowing some of the virtues of the spiritual love, still do not feel it, and that is why you cannot understand the reason for that which you call a miracle or mystery, but which are deeds made possible by the divine love. What teachings did Jesus give you which were not of love? What learning methods or mysterious knowledge did he employ in leaving you his examples of power and wisdom? Only the sweetness of love, with which everything can be accomplished. There is nothing contradictory in the laws of the Father Shiloh, simple in their wisdom and wise because they are saturated with love. Understand the Master. He is your book. The Spirit which inspired Jesus was my very own, that of your God, who became man to dwell among you and allowed himself to be seen, because it was necessary that it be so. As man, I felt all human suffering. Men of science who had studied nature came to me and found that they knew nothing of my teaching. The great and small, the virtuous and sinners, the innocent and guilty received the essence of my word, and I made them all worthy of my presence. And while many were called, few were the chosen, and even fewer were close to me.